Hello viewers, Super TT here. So this is yet another really good 1v1 battle. Well, I mean, I'll let you be the judge of whether it's good or not. But we've had a couple of really good direct battles on this game over the months, or over the years that we've been playing it. And I think this is possibly one of the best of the lot. So that is a very quick look at the grid. Only the top two. You might have just spotted that I was half a second ahead of second place in qualifying for this event. So that bodes well. The main issue with this race is going to be the tyres. Very long race, 15 laps on the soft tyre available, and typically we normally go for the softest tyre. We could bolt on the mediums, but go for the soft. So the race is underway. 15 laps around Blue Moon in Group 4. Of course, in the Manufacturers Championship, I've chosen McLaren. So drive the 650S, as you can see here. And we're going to be followed quite closely by the Porsche Cayman. And the Porsche, along with the Toyota 86, both very, very good cars in Group 4. We're going to try to do our best to fight against the Porsche Cayman from behind as we round out the little infield section here. So this circuit, Blue Moon infield, this direction of the circuit at least, is characterised by lots of long right-handers, very long right-handers, and with a rather aggressive tyre wear rate. It's going to become very, very difficult at the end of each stint to keep the car from spinning out and just actually going around the corner. So you can see lots of right-handers, long right-handers as well. So those two left-hand tyres are really going to suffer and start dying of death as we progress through the stint. So there's actually only two left-handers on this circuit, and the remainder are long right-handers. So that is going to be the main fight against the tyres, but also, of course, against the opposition. The Spaniard behind, still quite close, in the Cayman as well. Good car with a good driver there. We're going to try to hold him off as long as we can. So onto lap 2. Lap 1, solid lap. We want to keep the lead, of course. Just make sure we don't make any silly mistakes, and ideally try and pull out of that slipstream range, as you can see here, as we pan out slightly, opening up slightly, and in fact the gap to second to third opening up. It looked quite intense back there with the close-knit group. So ideally here, as we are 1.3 seconds ahead, you want to come out of that slipstream range. The Cayman not great on the straights, so at least if I can get that slipstream range, I'm not going to tow him down that straight and give him maybe a tenth or two for free. So going through the final turn, very long corner, you have to go on the throttle really early. Looking at the map though, you can see just how much the gap has opened up from second to third. It's going to be a 1v1 from here to the end between myself and the Spaniard, crossing the line for a 112.0 as we stream towards the first turn. Of course, on the oval here, banked corner, pretty much flat out, but that will change as the stint goes on and the tyres become worse. Just grazing the wall on the way in to the proper first corner, I like to call it, and then into the tighter infield section. So first off the right hand hairpin, and then the tyres can breathe a sigh of relief as we finally go into a left-hander, and coming up here nice and early on the throttle to get some nice speed onto this little middle straight here. So the gap up to 1.6, that's gone quite well so far, but I'm presuming that as the stint goes on and the McLaren begins to suffer more in the tyre wear, I mean the Porsche is going to suffer on tyre wear as well, but I do think the Porsche is slightly better compared to the McLaren here. So we'll see how it goes as the race progresses. So through the final corner once again, and so far so good as we round out onto the main straight and across the line. We engage nitrous oxide boosters and clear that straight rather quickly. So coming down into the first turn, this is where things get a little bit difficult, and the car just really horribly understeering. We're actually really wide onto the grass, come back on. Luckily I did have a gap because I'm able to still keep the lead, although I've lost a couple of attempts there. In fact, almost a second I've lost. Gap down to 0.7, so that really is not helping at all. So this is the point of the race where the tyres really are beginning to scream in pain anytime we turn right, which is basically all the time. As we come then towards the second left-hander of the circuit, the car just loves going through here. You get so much grip through the lefts, but as my left-hand tyres have died, I don't get much grip through the rights, which is unfortunately most of the turns. So coming up then towards the final turn, you see just how close he is, 0.2 seconds behind. Is he going to go for a move? Not quite. So in this situation, you're kind of watching the radar as well as trying to drive the circuit. Of course, you don't always have to look behind. It's not always ideal to have to look behind, as well, you know, you drive looking forwards, and looking backwards never really got you anywhere in terms of setting quick lap times. So we fly down the main straight into the sweeping right-hander. You see just how close he is this time around, a lot closer as we go into this turn. And I feel as though this is a kind of a weak turn. Looking on the radar, he does seem to close right up to the back of me, going into that corner. And I was going through there really as quick as I ought to. And you can see on the previous lap I went in too hot and went wide. So there's only so much speed you can carry in there, especially with the tyres beginning to wear out. So the gap a lot closer through the left-hand hairpin this time around. The gap quite open now from second to third. In fact, just looking at the map, is maybe at least 5 seconds, 4 or 5 seconds at this point here. So it really has turned into just a direct 1v1 battle, and we've had a fair few really good 1v1 battles on this game. And I suppose it is testament maybe to the BOP at times. You know, it's not perfect, but sometimes the cars do feel quite balanced around certain circuits at certain times. And I suppose the matchmaking system, sometimes you will come up against someone who's very well matched with you, and this seems to be the case here. Of course, it's not perfect a lot of the time. You're going to have a crap race or get disconnected or some crap like that. But every now and then you get these brilliant races which come along. Coming in towards the banked corner, 6th time. And coming in, this is where I was weak, and he's actually up the inside looking at that radar. There he goes, flying through. And maybe I could have defended that. I'm going to try to go for the instant reply, looking up the inside, trying to put him off, and I think I have done because he's driven really wide through the turn, missed the apex by about 8 miles. And coming down towards the left-hand hairpin now. He's covered the inside line. We're going to go for the cutback, possibly on the way out, not quite. Although I do sense that the McLaren superior on its acceleration or just general speed on the straight. As we tuck slightly into the slipstream, go up the inside, and he's able to sweep around the outside, such as the great handling of that Porsche. So we're going to settle in behind now. We need to have a good final turn so that we can stay in the slipstream down the long main straight. The McLaren is definitely quicker in a straight line, so I can perhaps make the most of that and go for a pass down this main straight. It's lap 7. We are going to come into the pits at the end of this lap, presumably, with the one-stop strategy. Soft tyres, then soft. You can see just how bad the tyres are now. As we tuck fully into that slipstream, he's covered the inside line, he's gone to the right-hand side. Okay, we're going to take the slipstream and move over to the left. We're going to try and get an angle on him on the way through. Almost get it, but I make contact. I don't really want to pass him after pushing him a little bit, so we're going to have to tuck back in and wait for a second opportunity on this lap to go for the pass. And he's driven really wide again. I think he's suffering with the tyres there. Absolutely is suffering. Looking to the inside line this time as he goes over to the right hand side to take the racing line. And again, he's a little bit wide, taking a nice tighter line, just keeping it nice and pivoted on that apex. And he's on my right hand side, just looking at that radar. We are side by side. As we then come towards the left-hander in the infield section. Am I going to be able to get the move done? Yes, I am. Up the inside. We're through, back into the lead at the end of lap 7. That could be crucial. So we're going to go into the pits at the end of this lap. We'll see what he does as well. I'm presuming that he's going to go in and follow me through the pit lane. So we'll see here as we go through the final turn. Yes, we're going to just peel over to the right-hand side here. And both, yes, indeed, yes, he takes his pit stop as well. I'm going to fast forward this bit here slightly, as it is quite a long pit lane here. It does take quite a while to get into your pit box. There we go, we're in. And hopefully we can get out and get back on with our race quite quickly. There we go. On the exits, actually a couple of people staying out. 1, 2, 3 and 4, so I'm down to 4th at this point here. And the rest of the pack are just coming through now. And it looks like a Toyota GT86 around the outside. And he's going to settle in between the two of us, and I think there's actually contact between the two of us there, and he's gone slightly wide onto the grass. I don't think I did anything particularly untoward there, kind of just held the line, and he's just drifted wide onto the grass. So with the fresh tyres, now we can really experience the grip again. It's actually quite nice to experience grip after going a couple of laps there with really bad grip on those left-hand tyres. So the gap up to 0.8 now, 0.9, and we are just beginning to open up that gap slightly, which was kind of a trend of the first split, or sorry, the first stint. I managed to open up the gap early, and then later on the Porsche came back at me with the superior sort of tyre wear, or tyre management you could say. Maybe I'm overdriving the car at this point, although I feel as though I'm driving quite smoothly, as smoothly as I possibly can. The leader goes in, we still have 2 people here staying out, that's interesting. So this is going to be potential traffic on this lap. It's going to potentially slow me down. So I really need to get through these guys as quick as possible, and maybe just hope that they can hold up the Spaniard behind. So coming into the first corner, not really much in the way of passing opportunity there. The Megane and the Porsche here, both really good cars for handling, although by now they're on their 9th lap on this set of tyres. The Porsche, they're drifting really wide. I'm going to go to the left hand side here, up the inside of the Megane. I'm going to get the move done into the hairpin. A bit of contact, although I felt I was on the apex completely. So we're going to go through into the lead. Those 2 guys there really struggling. I'm talking like Scooby-Doo for a moment there. And yeah, really struggling on their 9th lap on those tyres. I think it is possible. It's possible on fuel to do a no-stop, and therefore it's possible to do a no-stop because you can go to the end on fuel, therefore you could do it on the tyres. But I mean, I think the tyre wear is too high. I think it's like 12 times for this race, so it is too high realistically to do a full race length on one set. And you can see here, see there, that lap has really helped me. 1.9 the gap, almost 2 seconds. So clearly, it must have been held up as the gap was only about 1.9. So we've opened up basically a second on that lap. So good news there. Just need to really have a couple of solid laps, really just keep that gap in check. Make sure it doesn't gain on me too much, and also keep the tyres in check. So you're always trying to minimise trail braking and wheel spin coming out of the turns, of course, and just try not to really just force the car too much on the way in. But of course it's a hard balance because you need to be going quickly as well. You can't just go 2 miles an hour in order to save the tyres, because obviously that's too slow. So you really have to find the right balance. And at this point here, still 1.9 the gap, so this lap has gone quite well, although through there, from that corner, immediately gains a 10th, and I'm 1.4 down on my previous best, which is lap 2. I am the quickest driver on the circuit, courtesy of that second lap, 112.0. So lap 11 here, this is going to be the first proper lap with no traffic. You see the gap comes down to 1.5, at the end of 12, 1.3, and then by the end of 13, 0.6. So I'm going to kind of skip through those laps because it was kind of just driving round and round, which is the idea of racing, I suppose. But the gap was just coming down by a couple of tenths each lap, 3 or 4 tenths each lap. There wasn't much I could do about it. And you can see here, this kind of intensifies the battle as we go on to the penultimate lap. Lap 14 of 15. You see just how much he closes up through that section. And he's right on me as we look behind. Going to go defensive into the hairpin. Make sure we don't overshoot. He was overshooting that turn quite a lot in the previous stint. I want to make sure I don't do that and just really hit the apex. You just have to scale back your braking points as the tyres begin to go, and you're just not going to be able to brake as late as you can when you have the grip. As the tyres begin to go, you do have to brake earlier. It's as simple as that, especially when you're going narrow into the turn to defend it. So at this point here, you can see at the bottom left of the screen, the tyres, especially that front right, but also the back right, the back left and the front left, both really, really severe tyre wear. And it's through these right-handers where you feel that the most, as of course, with the right-handers, the car leans to the left and it wears those out more. And the car really just screaming for a left-hander, of which there's only 2 on the circuit. So, okay, over the line we go. You see just how close he is, definitely within the slipstream range. I'm pulling him along the straight now. So that's really good for him. So he's not losing out where his car is weak. His car is weak on the straight. As we come into the first corner, I know he's going to go up the inside. I'm going to just cover the inside. There's a bit of contact. I've covered him off, sliding through the turn. I just knew that he was going to go for the inside line. So I just really went narrow. And he's gone into the back of me in anticipation of that move, which was blocked off. And again, blocking the inside of the hairpin. I'm going to take a semi-racing line this time. I don't think he'll go for a lunge from that far back. So again, monitoring that radar, just to see if he's within range for that move. So really close, final lap now, half a lap left to go. Can the Spaniard fight back with the superior tyres, with maybe the better car? But he's driven really well to get back onto terms here after being 2 seconds down a couple of laps ago. One corner remaining. Is he going to be able to get the job done? He's quite far back. He could still get the slipstream though down the main straight. This corner has to be right, otherwise I could easily lose this race before the line. There he is, look how close he is. He's got so much grip for that final turn. Moving over to the right hand side, he's tucked into the slipstream. As we come up to the finish line, look how close it is. Less than half a second as we cross the line after 18 minutes of racing, or 19 minutes of racing almost. You see the gap there, 0.145. That's how close it was. Really good race, really intense battle between the two of us. I could see it coming, you know, he was just slowly reeling me in, couple of attempts per lap, and he definitely had the speed. He had a couple of attempts on me every lap, so I had to go defensive on that final couple of laps there. But it was a really good battle, really good battle. Actually, we get the most points of the season so far, 1,924. That brings our total up to 6,700. So that's a good campaign so far. We've got a couple of rounds left to try to improve. But ultimately, really happy with that battle. Let me know your thoughts on it and maybe how it ranks up against my other battles I've had on the game. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing if you did enjoy the video, and hit the like button. And if you did enjoy it, maybe consider hitting that like button. That is all for me today. Thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time. Goodbye.